You're watching the Nation Network with your host, Vince McSham. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Vince McSham with you here, and it is a breaking news day. I just found out about this about 30 minutes ago. Been diving into as much as I can get right now. There's not a lot out there about it. But Cash Wheeler, one half of FTR, was arrested right here locally in Orlando on charges of aggravated assault with a firearm, which is no joke. He's pled not guilty. We will be getting, I'm sure, more details in the near future. With that said, J-Rock standing by, so I'm going to bring him in here. What's happening, buddy? So like I said, this is just now starting to hit the news waves, and there's details to be had. So as a longtime resident of Florida, in particular Orlando area, so I know the laws, the rules, the regulations, especially where it comes to firearms. A couple of things to take into consideration. A, we don't know any of the circumstances beyond this situation. So normally you don't use a firearm just for no reason. I don't think he's going to hold up anything. So I'm going to go with the premise that it was some sort of an altercation.
Right.
That'll be my number one. So let's talk about the state of Florida and their rules and regulations where it comes to that. We are what they call a stand your ground state. You do not have to retreat from a threat. A lot of states force you to do that. The moment you are being threatened, you are allowed to fight back with whatever reasonable
force.
Yeah, for the lack of a better word.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that you have at your disposal. Now, you're talking about a professional wrestler, so if it's just a fist fight, then you can't pull out a gun.
Right.
But at the same time, he's not Hulk Hogan, professional wrestler. He's a pretty average-sized guy.
Yeah.
So keeping all this stuff, and it is wrestling. I don't know what his other combat backgrounds may or may not be. I don't know if he was a state champion in wrestling or anything like that. But presuming professional wrestling is his only training, that's not hand-to-hand combat training. That's choreography.
Right.
So that would not be something that would go into the, well, you're a wrestler, you can already defend yourself better than the average person.
No, because there's, like, I know people who are military trained, and I know people who are MMA trained and, you know, martial arts and stuff like that. There's certain things that when you reach certain levels, you're told, you know, you're considered a lethal weapon. Me as a former wrestler, I'm not considered a lethal weapon. Yeah, the moves that we do can do damage to people, but 9 times out of 10, you're not looking to powerbomb somebody, you know,
and not
if you're in a fight.
Those moves require both people participating.
True, yeah, right. And we don't know what the other person looked like. Exactly. I mean, he could have been 3 times bigger than Cash, and you know, that could have been his only course. And the thing that I, you know, as soon as you sent me the information on it, I started looking into it too. And I guess the way my mind went was, we, like you said, we don't know the circumstances behind it. If his
Not yet.
family was being threatened, by all means, use that force.
Even if
So,
he was being threatened.
because I would. I mean, if my family's being threatened, whether I'm a wrestler or not, I'm going to do everything I can to protect them. So until these details come out, it's going to be hard to judge one way or the other with it.
Yeah. And again, so Florida is a stand your ground state. If you are threatened, you do not have to back down. You can use reasonable force. Right. And as of the 1st of July, we are also a right to carry state. So while I've always had my concealed permit, now anybody can conceal carry.
Right.
Provided you don't have criminal history. I mean, you still have to fit the parameters, but you no longer have to go through the licensing process and have the federal government know your business.
Right. Correct.
Okay, so from that standpoint, now everyone is a lethal threat because the criminals were already carrying weapons. Now the amateurs that have never gone to a gun range can carry weapons.
Right.
Which makes them dangerous to everybody. And then you have the people who've already been carrying legally. So pretty much 90% of the state of Florida probably packing right now.
Well, it's like I told you about a month ago or so. I said, welcome to the Wild Wild West, because, I mean, it's one thing to have to go through the classes and everything to get your concealed carry and at least been to a range. But like you said, now all you have to do is go buy a gun and you can carry down there. And that's actually kind of fucking scary, honestly. So,
but I'll tell you this, we haven't had any news stories flooding us with all of a sudden people getting shot all over the place. I'm still a believer that if everyone's armed, crime goes down.
Yeah. I mean,
and bottom line is, if I know I'm walking into this restaurant, or if I know I'm coming up to this guy at a gas station, if I know there's an 80% chance he's armed, now I've got to decide, do I want to rob him bad enough to kill him first? Because I'm not going to wait for him to pull a gun out and shoot me.
Right.
And that mentality now is something that, as Floridians, I think, unless you're a fool, has to be in your mind. Okay. And when a guy cuts you off and you're not happy about it, you might want to think twice about beeping.
Right.
So, again, with that being our atmosphere here right now, and not knowing any of the facts, if Cash only pulled it out and brandished it, it still can be a felony.
Yeah.
But depending on the circumstances.
Right.
Now, from a wrestling perspective, pay-per-view was coming up. Was it this weekend?
It was real close, yeah. If not this weekend, next weekend. Yeah.
I tried to get Blazed on. He's here in the chat. Yeah, it did happen on July 27th. That is correct. And
yeah, the warrant was issued. Yeah, I saw the warrant was issued on the 28th the next day. So.
And you think it won't affect All In? Well, here's the thing. Why I'm going to probably say that will is the fact that he's currently out on bond. So him saying I didn't do it is fine. Then you get your day in court to let the judge hear it. But between now and then,
they ain't going to let him go overseas.
Exactly. Yeah, Tony might be fine with him for the moment, which I get. You should be fine with him. He hasn't been proven guilty of anything. The fact that our country has turned it inside out from where it used to be, you were innocent until proven guilty. Now half the time, that told him, then you did it. Prove me wrong.
Right, exactly.
So Tony's doing the right thing, hopefully not just because he's a tag team champion with a pay-per-view marquee match, but hopefully because he hasn't been proven guilty of anything. Now, on the other side of the equation, you keep a guy on your roster for 3 months, he wrestles, defends titles for you, and then you find out in court he did it. And then you've been paying him for 3 months, you've been promoting him for 3 months. It could definitely leave you with some egg on your face.
The best thing for Tony to do in this situation is let Cash have the time off, still pay him, but just don't have him on TV until it's all settled. I mean, it would be best for both of them, I believe, in this situation.
Pay-per-view is on the 26th. What day is today? I don't even know.
18th, today is the 18th. It's the day after my birthday.
Another week away.
Yep.
All right. Well, I mean, let's put it this way. In a week's time, things could change. Video evidence could come up. I mean, where is there not a camera anymore?
Right.
Between street cameras and security cameras and everybody and their mother with an iPhone.
And again, that's something else. We don't know where this took place either yet. None of these details have come out. It could have been, like you said, could have been in a restaurant, could have been in a parking lot of a gas station. We don't know. Until we get these details, it's going to be, I'd say, take it with a grain of salt till we know more details on it.
Yeah. And again, he's saying self-defense. The state of Florida is very forgiving when you are the person defending yourself. So as long as there's any proof of that, the chances are he gets to walk away clear. You're not going to get fined for defending yourself. You're not going to get fined for pulling a gun in defense of yourself, as long as it's reasonable.
Right.
You know, if he could be getting into an altercation with the same exact guy as my mother, and she is justified for shooting that guy,
right?
Whereas Cash wouldn't necessarily be. So they take a lot of things into account on what is justifiable force in the state of Florida. But I can tell you right now, he's not even 6 foot tall, is he?
No, he's probably right around my height, 5'10", 5'11".
That was my guess. And maybe 200 pounds.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, they might announce more, but let's be real. So that's an average human being.
Yeah.
So if the guy is 6 foot, 230 legit, then yeah, it's justifiable. And again,
yeah,
he didn't shoot anyone.
Right. And it could have been they were out. Maybe him and his wife were out, and and somebody was drunk and decided, hey, I'm going to fuck with him because he's a wrestler.
That happens
and then,
too often.
Yeah, and then Cash pulls out the gun, and the guy goes, "Oh fuck, oops, my bad."
Purist, I don't think they're going to strip the titles of them. I mean, they might have them lose the match at some point in time. It probably won't be at the pay-per-view. But,
right.
I mean, look, they were going to lose the title sooner or later anyway. So Blaze says professional athletes need to be professional and realize their actions affect so many people more than just themselves. In my opinion, we see it too much in football, basketball, baseball, and et cetera. Which is why I've stopped watching all the above mentioned.
Right.
But again, in this situation, not knowing the details, but I mean, if it's self-defense, then he did nothing wrong. Nothing to apologize for.
Nope.
Now, I don't know. Does he live in the state of Florida? I know a lot of wrestlers like it.
I'm not sure where him and Dax both might live in Florida. That I'm not sure of.
Because they're billed from what, Carolinas or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. And they could have been down there on vacation. I mean, had some time off before All In and was going to take some time off, and who knows?
So Blaze, who watches a lot more AEW than probably both of us, says that AEW and Tony didn't know this at all. Unless they didn't know this at all, I don't see them booking the tag match in the last few weeks, knowing what happened.
Right.
Yeah. They may have known prior to today. I don't know how. I mean, when did Cash know he's going to get arrested is the $1 million question, because Tony can't know before Cash.
Well, until the warrant served, I mean,
that's what I'm saying. If Cash didn't know he's being, let's assume, all right, so the event took place on the 27th of last month.
Right.
Let's say there was a pushing, shoving, you're an MF or whatever, and now I'm going to kick your butt, blah, blah, and then Cash reveals a firearm. And everybody goes their separate ways. He might think case closed, it's all over, not knowing the guy has now started legal proceedings and filed charges against him.
Right.
So he could have been surprised 2.5 weeks later, 3 weeks later, with a knock on the door. So that means Tony is also surprised.
Right. And that's the thing. Just because the warrant's issued for you, until it's served to you or they pick you up on it, you don't have a clue about it until one of those things happen, because it's not like you're going to go, I got into an issue with somebody, let me go check to see if a warrant's been issued. So
5'10", 233 is what they can build at. There ain't no way in hell he's 233 pounds. Sorry. Nope.
I'm 280 and he's just more muscular than I am. So.
I mean, I'll buy the 5'10", 100%.
Right.
Wasn't Shawn Michaels at 230 some odd pounds during his heyday? And
Roughly, yeah,
came
somewhere
out and
around there.
mocked him during the Hall of Fame, saying, "Yeah, really, more like a $185 on a really good day." All right. Well, like I said, I was stunned to hear this news. I was planning on doing a Wrestle Chat a little later on because I wanted to talk about Impact Wrestling last night. If you haven't seen it, it was a very good show. Every match was solid, starting right out with Deanna's match against Kylan. Was just everything last night was a really good night. But then this came up, and it's like, well, there's no way to bury the headline on this.
Right.
So more news to come. I just wanted to throw the Florida aspect at people that may not know that, again, we've got pretty strong and stringent rules stating you do not have to back down from someone who is challenging you. You have a right to stand your ground and to fight back in any method that's reasonable, depending on the circumstances. You just got to use very good judgment and know that if you're going to in any way incorporate a firearm, you better have a justification behind it
Right.
that's going to pass the shit test.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to have to wait and find out. But he's out on a $2,500 bond, which to him probably isn't all that much.
Right.
But all the more reason that they look. I look at it this way: if you're not going to let him go to England, which I get, if you're under a bond, if the guy's got wife, kids, family, house, everything here, is he really going to stay in England?
No, probably not for something like that.
Over a maximum 5-year sentence. Not like 5 years is cakewalk or anything, but it's not your life.
And if he feels like he's in the right, he has no reason to run,
No, we're going to, I'm sure, have more information on this sometime in the next 24 hours. I can't imagine it's going to drag out too long before we start hearing what's going on.
Right.
And we can get back on and follow up on this once we get some of that information. All right. Well, that's all I got right now. What are you trying to blow me? What is that?
No, I'm outside. There's sweat bees are bad here in Ohio right now. So,
what's the high temperature?
Oh, I know it's not about the temperature; it's about the humidity. They're drawn to that kind of stuff. So you might have higher temperatures, but right now we've got high humidity, so it's kind of nasty out.
What is your temperature right now? What's your high?
Today, I think it's supposed to be like 91 today.
Oh, you're in the same boat as me.
Okay.
We probably have a higher feels like temperature at the end of the day, but actually this morning didn't feel all that bad. So, all right. Well, again, we'll keep our eyes and ears open on the news, and I think in the next 24 hours we'll probably have a little bit more of a picture to figure out how justified he was and whether or not he did more than just brandish a firearm. If he pulled the trigger, he'd have been arrested sooner.
Right. Absolutely. They wouldn't have delayed it.
Right.
Let it go for almost 3 weeks now.
Yeah, and I'm still wondering. There's got to be, if it's a he said she said, then this should go away pretty quickly. The burden of proof is on the prosecution. So unless you've got proof that he did something wrong, and pulling a gun is not wrong, depending on the circumstances.
Right.
But it sucks for him, especially if he's innocent, that he's got to deal with the arrest, the news blotters all over the place. And the fact that he's likely going to miss out on this event and the paycheck.
Right.
In which case, I would hope that he would mount a massive countersuit against whoever this person is, if he's innocent.
Yep.
There are too many falsely accused people that just end up being falsely accused and then, oh, okay, you're free. Sorry. Nah, there's not enough here. No, that doesn't work, man. You got to punish. In other words, if you're going to bring something out like this, you better have some legitimacy to it. You can't just, besmirch people's name. I'm not a Johnny Depp fan, but what that bitch did to him, and granted, he did countersue her, and they kind of both got some money from each other. And at the end of the day, it was a wash. I think he made an extra $100 or something stupid like that. But it's the principle. He lost millions of dollars.
Yep.
Over what she said. And now we all know it was just complete bullshit. And she's walking around free. No, there should be some jail time for that. There should be some jail time for that. You can't just do that.
Well, the only thing I have to say to finish off on this is everybody out there, just until we get actual news facts from legitimate sources, don't believe everything that comes out within the next 24 hours, because the clickbait people are going to be like, oh, we found this out and we found that out, and you're just going to be running in circles. So when we find out legitimate stuff on it, we'll come back to you guys and let you know. So,
the funny thing is, you talk about, legitimate sources. The first source that I heard this from was the Orlando Sentinel, which we refer to as the Orlando Slantinel, because their stories are like Joe Biden's. They get poked holes in so constantly. It's like, that's not accurate. That's not accurate. And they'll put their retractions every day on page 29, buried somewhere. Nobody ever sees the retractions.
Well, I mean, that was where I went when you told me about it. I found that article, and to me, they didn't really have anything in it except for what the facts were. This happened on this date. This was released on this date, and this happened just now. So
that's because they're not going to take a slander lawsuit over a professional wrestler. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll try and get some more information to you later on. I was planning to do an early live stream. I don't know if I'm still going to have time for that because I've got other stuff going on today. But in the meantime, let's just wait and see how this turns out. And again, I hope that it turns out that he was justified in whatever action he took. We'll see you next time right here on WrestleChat for some more breaking news, if that's what it is. Say goodbye, Jay.
Goodbye, Jay.
Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you again real soon. Stay tuned.